Welcome back to Adjuster Hour. I'm your host, Natalie Ariave, and today is a huge day for our show. This guest needs no introduction, but he deserves one. He's the creator, the storyteller, the educator behind Adjuster TV, a platform that has helped thousands of independent adjusters break into this industry, survive their first deployment, and build real careers. If you ever binged adjusting videos at 2 a.m. trying to figure out this world, you probably watched this content. So please help me welcome the incredible Matt Allen, the man who took adjusting education to an entirely new level. Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're so excited to have you.
Yeah, this is really great, Natalie. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a lot to get into. Let's dive right in because, I came up with the questions that we're all dying to know about you. So let's jump in. Where are you originally from, and how did your early life shape the way you approach adjusting and teaching?
Yeah, so kind of grew up traveling. We weren't like, it wasn't like a military family or anything, but my dad worked for a national construction company, and so we'd do a job in Little Rock for 18 months when I was in like fourth or fifth grade, and then when that job's done, we go to Scottsdale and do a job, and then kind of did that throughout like my elementary school years up until I was, in high school.
Mhm.
But that said, I kind of consider myself to be from like a combination of, I have a lot of family in Indiana, southern Indiana, and Kansas City area. So
Okay.
Midwest, you could say.
Midwest. Yeah. And where do you live now? Where are you at now?
Yeah, so we're in Kalispell, Montana.
Oh, wow. It must be beautiful
Yeah,
over there.
it is. We snowed its butt off this morning, and we went actually skiing for the first time this year this morning.
Oh, wow. Yeah, a lot different than Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So,
Yep. But
well,
yeah, to answer the rest of your
yeah.
question, I was kind of one of the, I think because we traveled so much, I kind of had to be the kid that you could give them a box of Legos or a spoon and put them out in the backyard, and I would dig holes, and I could kind of basically work on my own. I didn't need to have like constant, attention or supervision or whatever. I just was, if I'm playing in the sandbox at 10 a.m., I'll be there at noon, right when it's
Yeah.
lunchtime or whatever. And I think that kind of like carried over to the adjusting thing because, especially as a catastrophe adjuster, you're a lot of the time you feel kind of isolated in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
You have managers and you've got like there's support. There's a team that's with you, but a lot of times you don't ever see them, right? Maybe you get on the phone with them, or
Sure.
occasionally a lot of emails, right, or text like Matt, where is this file or whatever. But you kind of need to be a little bit of a kind of a able to operate unsupervised. I think to for this to be. I mean, anybody can. I shouldn't say anybody can do this because it's not for everybody. But I think that um, having the ability to kind of like uh, just kind of like wind you up and let you go off on your own and do your thing and not get burned out by it because you're not like feeling like you've got FOMO that you're missing out on all these things, or you're constantly
Yeah.
craving like a big social, you have a lot of people around you all the time. I think that makes it easier to spend the summer, running claims all summer long, 16-hour days and so on and so forth. And I found honestly that when I did, I made a lot of adjuster friends, and when I did go on storms with them, I mean, we'd end up at happy hour, and it was like the work starts to kind of take a back seat a little bit, and you can't do that
Yes.
on a cat.
No, you
So,
can't.
yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So, what were you doing before adjusting? And did you ever imagine that this would be your career path?
No. So before I was an adjuster, I had no idea. I'd never heard of. I mean, I was
Mhm.
in my, you know, I was in my late 20s when like 27 or 28, I think, when I heard about it. And I didn't, I think at the time I could barely afford car insurance and I didn't own a house. So I didn't know, really knew
Mhm.
nothing about it. But before I was in, and got into claims, I did do broadcast television. Did a lot of live production. Um, you know, I worked at broadcast news, the NBC News
Oh,
affiliate in
wow.
Phoenix, and I was in the studio, so I was like the guy with the headset on, that points at the anchors to send them to the cameras and everything, and I ran the teleprompter and all that kind of stuff. And also did freelance sports production. So if the PGA Tour was in town, at one of the in Scottsdale, there's a lot of like big like golf conference resort centers where they do these big tournaments and stuff. Then I would go and shoot, be a camera operator or pull cable or whatever.
Oh,
So I
wow.
did that kind of thing. The very last thing I was doing before I became an adjuster, and the job that I quit to become an adjuster
Mhm.
was I had was for some reason ended up in Los Angeles,
Oh,
and I
wow.
was working at the Food Network as an associate producer, and which was a super fun job, but it paid like $15 an hour. Of course, that was
Huh.
1997 or 8 or whatever, 99 I think, and super fun job. But again, I had to have 5 roommates, just to
Mm.
be able to afford rent. But and it was you are doing that kind of thing. You are and it's adjusting's a little bit this way as well, but they basically kind of like micromanage everything that you do. Like you're
Hmm.
there to do a specific job for in any of those
Sure.
situations. Whereas with adjusting, your specific job is to close claims. There's best practices, certainly. There's estimating guidelines and all that stuff, but there's also the creative side of figuring out how can I, as a person who invoices on every claim, you're basically getting commission on every claim.
Hmm.
How can I do more of those in a day, right? And that's where the creative juices, where the gears are turning, and
Mm.
always trying to find efficiencies here and there. So um, that was
Yeah.
something that and you may be this may be one of your questions, but that was one of the things that kind of lit me up about adjusting for sure was the the idea the basic idea was that if I was creative enough with my efficiency and my workflows, I could give myself a raise on my very next paycheck,
Oh,
right? Not
yeah.
like
Yes.
at the end of the year I'm going to get a performance review or whatever. But I had to.
It's
The
true.
challenge was you can go super fast and turn
Hmm.
more claims in, but if you don't keep your quality up with the customer service aspect as well as your technical accuracy, and missing carriers hate when you miss damage more than anything.
Hmm.
If you can't keep those things up, then this is meaningless. You're a run and gun adjuster that the firms will call. You're the bottom of the list, and they're going to hold their
Hmm.
nose and call you because you're going to close some claims, but they're going to reopen and be an instant mess.
Sure.
So having
Sure.
that quality aspect is that was being a complete package, right? People will say, well, you can have it um, fast, good, or what's the third one? There's three of them. Pick two, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I was like, I want to pick three. I want to be fast. I want to be good, and I want to have like really high quality, right?
Sure.
I want to do
Sure.
all. I want to be the full. And I think I did a pretty good job of it um,
Yeah.
when it was all said and done.
Well, who introduced you to adjusting? How did you make that switch from production to adjusting? I mean, that's a huge career change.
Yeah. Yep. So my sister was friends with Dale and Tiffany Brassfield, who
Hmm.
were I'm not sure what they're up to now, but they were for a long time they were running Paysetter, right?
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah.
Dale, this was back in the late '90s before Dale and Tiffany got together, and my sister credits herself with getting them together, but that's a side story. But my sister was like, hey, we're having a conversation or whatever, like, what do I want to do? I don't know if I like my job and blah, 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 that kind of thing.
Sure.
She's like,
Hmm.
hey, why don't you do what my friend Dale does and he goes out on these hailstorm things in the summertime and he makes like $75,000 and then he spends the rest of the year songwriting and playing open mics and doing all because they were in Nashville and like Dale's like outstanding singer and songwriter and he's like I've seen him perform before and it's fantastic. But that's what he did in the wintertime, right? Or when in the off season. And I was like, that's a thing you can do. You can make it's like $75,000.
Hmm.
It's not a small amount of money, but back then that was like,
No.
oh my gosh, it's huge compared since I was, especially for me who was making half that,
Hmm.
doing production. So um, I wanted to, that kind of helped me with my video production stuff that I really wanted to do the creative things that I didn't want to have to be told what to do on it. I wanted to do my own thing. And so that was kind of the wheel that sort of turned in my brain was, well, I can do that too. I mean, I play the guitar or whatever, but I have
Yeah.
zero desire to like be a singer-songwriter. But I do want to do this and like shoot video and become a videographer and do that kind of thing. I could do that with this job.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what launched me off into it.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's talk about your first deployment. What was that like, and would you survive it again today?
Well, I guess if knowing what I know now,
Yeah.
I would have crushed that storm. Absolutely. It was a hailstorm in Chicago. It was a huge hailstorm. It was like all the like the northwest suburbs
Hmm.
just got, I mean, big hail. A lot of wood roofs, right? A lot of,
Mm.
and it was just Chicago. If you've ever worked there or been there or from there, it's like just vast sea of suburbs outside just outside the city center. And so just house after house after, and they weren't all huge houses. They were um, pretty easy. It was pretty easy claims. Knowing what I know now, I mean, that storm would have been a cakewalk.
Yeah.
And I think, this is a interesting kind of question is that when I went on my very first hurricane, which was like 4 years later, I was like a not really, I was a very experienced adjuster by that time, and I was starting to build out these workflows where I'm like faster and faster. So my first hurricane was kind of a cakewalk. It was pretty easy, And so I think adjusters that hurricanes their very first deployment, I don't know that I would have necessarily survived a hurricane because it's kind of a whole other beast.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a State Farm. It was a paper file. We wrote the estimate and Xactimate, but there
Hmm.
was no exact analysis. There was no uploading or downloading. You printed everything out and you put it into a file jacket, and you wrote your diary
Hmm.
on a piece of paper and put it in the file jacket. You took Polaroid pictures. You had a great Polaroid camera around your neck, right? And you would brisk photo, and pull the thing out and stand there and then write
Wow.
risk on it and then stick it in your pocket and then go take all the rest of your photos. And it was always, you go up the ladder, it's banging on the rungs of the ladder as you're going up. And then you had to, when you got done, you had pieces of paper that were your photo, what do they call them? They were like, anyways, a piece of paper that you stapled the photos to.
Hmm.
And then, if you could I think you could label underneath them or you could label on them, like just writing it down what it was.
Yeah.
And so it was a trip, but people today complain about the all the things that they make us more and more things to do.
Yeah.
How can we even make money? And handwrite a claim, right? And that
Yeah.
was
Handwrite a
I had the
claim.
computer back then. The guys that just a generation before me
Hmm.
had the price list for the area rolled up and stuffed in their back
Yeah.
pocket, right? And they would write out like their estimate was on like
Sure.
a three-part carbon thing, and they would
Hmm.
37 squares, right? And then what's the price per square of this to tear off, and then add waste and all that kind of stuff. They did it by all that by
Yeah.
hand. I was able to by the end of that first storm, um, I was able to and State Farm hammered us on this. And I think this was a really good storm to be my first one. And it would be my wish that everybody could have their first storm be like this because they hooked me up with State Farm. They don't do this anymore, but back then they had these folks called RTs, which
Hmm.
was a reinspector trainer. And for new people, they had a requirement, I think they still do, that I firms have to bring along their first call list guys and then people, and then they have to bring one or two or three newbies on, just so they can keep developing the next, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Sure.
turnover. So
Sure.
so I had two of them, and I worked with them. Nancy Hahn and Kirk Angel were my RT. I remember their names. I don't remember anybody else's name, but I remember their names. And Nancy was my first RT. I think she had me for about a little under a week, and then Kirk picked up the slack. And by the end of my time with Kirk, he was like, "You have to close these on site." He's like,
Hmm.
he's like, "You don't have to, but you will be a much better adjuster, and you'll make a lot more money if you close them on site." That's writing all that stuff out, right? It's
Yeah.
not like copy and paste in the computer, templates and macros and whatever.
Hmm.
It's writing the whole file. And by the end of that first storm, I was closing 6 and 7 a day.
Oh, wow.
Hail
Yeah.
claims in
Yeah.
Chicago and sitting in Chicago traffic and all that kind of stuff. Um, and so I don't, when I hear people complain about like the stuff that
Hmm.
carriers want to make them do and these notes, you got more notes and paperwork and clicks and this,
Yeah.
Crimea River. It's the world's smallest violin, okay? Doesn't
Yes.
matter. It doesn't matter what they want you to do. You just take it,
Hmm.
put it into your workflow and make it part of
Yeah.
your routine.
Yeah.
And then it becomes part of your routine and then it takes 4 seconds to do it. And
Yeah,
you can still
sure.
find other ways to be more efficient. So, but
Oh, I
yeah, that
love
was my
that.
first storm.
Well, was there ever a moment that you almost walked away from adjusting where this could never have been?
Yeah, that first storm for sure. Um, it didn't quite click with me. I was able to do the scoping part, but
Hmm.
the writing up part was
Yeah.
this is why I trained this. As soon as I got called in for an open file review, which basically my manager called me at 6 o'clock in the morning, which he did every day, which 3 hours of sleep.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyway, he's like, Matthew, you need to bring bring all your open files, which are all file jackets, right? Everything that
Hmm.
you've looked at, the ones that you haven't looked at, bring all that stuff into the office and cancel all your appointments today. I was like, oh no. And so I came in there and he's going through my stack of files and he's like, you can close that one in 2 minutes. All you gotta do is write the estimate on this one. You can, so he kind of went through my things. He's like, I think you can get this done by the end of the day. If you can't get this done by the end of the day, Matt, whatever you don't get done, we're taking away and see ya. Right? You're out of here.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
I was not the crucial part to all this, and I think this is the sort of the object lesson for adjusters, especially new ones, is that the scoping's the fun and easy part, right? Writing an
Yeah.
estimate, if you like the software and stuff, that can be pretty easy as well. Then you've got the little ticky tack stuff, the setting reserves and doing the diary and doing the GLR and doing the this and the that and the other thing, right? All that stuff is like it's a bunch of things, right? That
Hmm.
also have to be in the file. And I was really, really focusing on the estimate writing, or really the scoping, followed by the estimate writing, and then just kind of like, well, I'll get to the other stuff later, kind of thing. The adjusters have to see, and I think this goes for anybody that is successful with this, seeing and doing the process of the claim from very start to very finish one time, all the
Hmm.
way through, right? That starts to show you all the things that need to be in there and when they need to happen in there. Do it again, right? And get up to 8 to 10 of those. And by then, it starts to be like less of like, I don't know what to do and I'm spending 3 hours on one claim to it took me 45 minutes, right, to
Sure.
do all this stuff. Because a lot of that time that the people take 3 hours to do at 11 o'clock at night or 1 o'clock in the morning is they don't know what to do next, or they don't know where to find the thing that tells them what to do, or they're spending a lot of time in Xactimate looking for stuff they don't know how to find things in Xactimate quickly.
Hmm.
So I got stuck in that kind of that little vortex, and I stayed in that office all day long and got them all done, and I got to see that over and over again with the 15 files or whatever I had that were open, and they started to click, and so I I think, and I'll be honest with you, when I left that storm, I found it to be it was very stressful. It was the first storm, right? And there's no like um, coddling.
No,
You
there's
know what I
not.
mean? They, it's sink or swim, right?
It is. Yeah.
They're gonna hand you files and send you out there. When I drove away from that storm, I vowed, and this shows you what my vows are worth, but I vowed I would never do it again. I was like, that was, I don't care
Yeah.
if I made, $25,000 or 42, whatever I made, I don't remember. But then the next spring,
Hmm.
they called and I was like, yep, I'll be there.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Once you're in it, you're in it.
yeah.
So, well, let's move towards your adjuster TV because I am so interested. What inspired the first ever adjuster TV video?
Well, I think that the my Adjuster TV videos, especially even from the start, were kind of really driven by me wanting to share like things that I felt made the job easier
Hmm.
or made it so that it was more enjoyable, or made it to where you could make more money. And that very first video was really the number one thing, and I still believe this, that the number one thing that makes this job um, all around better for everybody in the process, right? So the customer, the carrier, the I firm, everybody who's involved, and that is that everyone is your customer,
Hmm.
even especially roofing contractors, public adjusters, water mitigation companies, et cetera, not
Sure.
just the customer, right? When I figured that out, I don't know, a third of the way into my career, everything changed,
Hmm.
completely changed. Stress and anxiety evaporated. I found that things were a lot easier to do if I treated the customer with dignity and respect, and having knowledge about what we're going to be doing in the process is a huge part of this. It's the core of customer service is having people ask you questions, and being able to answer those questions puts people at ease, right? Okay, well
Yeah.
he's laying out what's going to happen in the next 14 days, right? Which is great. What's going to happen after that? Well, here's what's going to happen after that, right? Meeting with contractors, and the story that I tell, and that very first video was, don't fight with roofers, right? And then I go into basically the story I tell is, when you work cat and you especially doing cat adjusters, property adjusters, hail is like your bread and butter, right? That's what you're going to
Hmm.
be doing mostly. And you can go, it depends on where you go, but you can run into like contractors that are, they just don't care. They're going to fight you tooth and nail. They're going to call you
Hmm.
names. They're going to point at everything and be like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, so on and so
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
And it there's like really well organized, like storm chaser roofer companies
Oh,
that
yeah.
have lifted pickup trucks with the graphics all over them and everything. And there was a company that I kept running into these guys, and they were super aggressive. And when you showed up, there was three of those trucks parked out in front of the insurance house,
Hmm.
and four dudes in the front yard. You see the insured standing there like this, and then
Yeah.
two dudes up on the roof, and they're chalking things up already. And it's like it generates anxiety and stress because you're like, oh, I got to deal with these guys, and
Yeah.
I know I'm in an area where there's no damage, or there's a little bit of damage, or it's a fringe, whatever, right?
Sure. Sure.
And one day I was driving to meet with one of those guys, and I was like, I saw the name, the name of the company on the loss report, and I was like, oh, these guys, Mastercraft or Aspen or something
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
And on my way over there, I was like, you know what? I don't know that there's not hail damage on that roof. I
Hmm.
know that I have the houses I've looked at over there have little bit, vents and things like that. But I don't know. I mean, maybe there was a pocket that did hit this guy's roof. First, the roof is really old, and the hail that did hit it was big. Because it was so
Hmm.
old, it wrecked it. I don't know. So why
Yeah.
am I getting all worked up that I'm going to be having to deny something before I even look at it? And that like took a lot of weight off my shoulders because I was like, I'm just open mind, open book. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go
Of
see what they
course.
got, right?
Of course.
And then when I walked up it was the trucks and the guys and bodybuilder dudes with wearing their little sisters
Mm.
t-shirts, and um,
Yeah. Very, very well familiar with those.
yeah. And so when I walked up, I was like, I had a smile on my face and my hands out, like because it's one guy's job, right?
Yeah.
It's this one roofer's his sale. And I'm like, all right, whose sale is this or whatever? It's like, oh, it's mine, and shake his hand and make a joke about the trucks. And I use the
Hmm.
same joke over and over and over again, right? well, now if I need some buses jumped, I know who to call. Everybody laughs, and you start to see the shoulders drop a little bit, and
Yeah,
people smile, and then these other guys start to drift away and disappear. Right, they get in
yeah,
their trucks and leave, and you walk up to that insured, and you side by side, shoulder to shoulder with the contractor, and all right, here's what we're going to do, right? And so on, you kind of give them the lay of the land, what's going to happen next. If we find damage, we're going to do this. If we don't find damage, so on and so forth. And we're going to try to, make sure that we agree on this and that we're both looking at the same thing. And right, and then up we go. And treating those guys like professionals, even if they're not, right? Even if they're jackasses,
yeah.
made such a huge difference. It made the job infinity easier because it was like, I'm just I'm not there to fight. I'm not going to fight,
No.
right? You cannot hurt my feelings. You cannot, call me any names. You can't disparage my mom. You can't any of that stuff,
Yeah.
right? You can't threaten me. You
Yeah.
know, it's just not gonna
Well,
it's just not gonna work.
when did you realize, wait a second, I'm on to something. This adjuster TV is becoming bigger than I assume than you expected when you first started.
I think when I started having firm like directors of
Hmm.
operations or VPs of resource management or those
Sure.
folks started reaching out to me and asking if they could get on the channel or if we could collaborate in some way. I think that was probably when it turned the corner, and I think that the first year, so I started at the beginning of the year in February of 2018 was my very first video went out. And then I went to NACA the following January,
Hmm.
and nobody had heard of Adjuster TV. It was kind of it wasn't a very big NACA that year. And, but I was like, I'm going to interview people. So I was pulling people over and getting them in front of the camera. I took my camera and a light and a microphone. And um, a lot of people were like, "No, what do you again?
Yeah.
What is it? What is that? I don't know. No, we're good, kind of thing."
Yeah.
And then the next year at NACA, they're lining up. They're like, "Hey, listen,
Yeah.
when can we come and get in front of the camera? The CEO, he really wants to, he's got a suit on and everything. He wants to talk about the company and blah blah blah." And I was like,
Sure. Sure.
"So,"
Yeah.
and it was all I did, and all I still do is just show up once a week, at
Sure.
least once a week with something, with a video.
Yeah.
And I think that's what separated me from a lot of the other like adjuster YouTubers is
Hmm.
just consistent, stubborn, not gonna, even if it's not the best video ever, but
Hmm.
something's going out. I want to be interacting with my audience. I want to be, you know,
Well, is that the hardest part, staying consistent and coming up with
it
that
is.
content? Hmm.
Yeah. So being consistent, having I've gotten to the point where I've got some systems in place. I have a video editor. I used to do 100% of everything. I
Mm.
got somebody that does all our website stuff, somebody that does all the video stuff. So I've got a little bit of kind of a small team. But the content creation part is kind of interesting, and this is something that might be interesting for you to hear. But with the videos on YouTube, you have an audience, right? We have like sort
Mhm.
of an addressable audience, and they are who they are, right? I can't control like the adjuster that's been doing it for 15 years. I can't make him watch my videos or be on, he's not going to be. I wasn't, right? I wasn't like on
Yeah.
Reddit or Facebook or whatever. Like, and I was just working, and not it
Hmm.
was that was my thing. The people that are most watching Adjuster TV videos are new, or they're new to it or newish to it. They've been doing it for a couple of 1 or 2 or maybe 3 years, and so I have a little small window to where I can help them, right? So I
Hmm.
used to do all kinds of different videos, all different levels of everything, like super advanced stuff and commercial stuff, and video. I have videos like that very first video, even though it's one of the most important things, the "Don't Fight with Roofers." I don't think that has 1,000 views on it. Like, and it's
Oh,
eight
wow.
years old.
Yeah.
Um, so, but they once people like I get kind of I want to kind of be like, and it's kind of worked out this way to sort of be like the
Hmm.
not a gatekeeper necessarily, but it's the doorway through which people walk. They want to know what this is all about. I come up in the Google search, right? AdjusterTV stuff does. I've heard about it from my neighbor, or my nephew, or my sister's, friend, or whatever it
Hmm.
is, right? And so now I'm going to do some research on it and look it up. And I think a lot of people that get into this are the kind of people that are going to research something to death, and so they're going to be on
Yeah,
the internet,
sure.
yeah,
Watching all
looking
the
stuff up.
videos, binge watching at 2 a.m.
Yep,
Well, you
yep,
mentioned new
exactly.
adjusters watching the videos. So what do you think new adjusters misunderstand the most about this career?
What new adjusters misunderstand the most?
Yeah, like yeah, when they start this career, what's a misunderstanding that they have about this career?
Well, I think that there's probably a number of things. I think that one thing that I feel like I see on social media a lot is, you have to be um, demanding a certain pay, right, or a
Hmm.
certain split on the claim. And as brand new adjuster, you have zero leg to stand on there because you're an unknown quantity, right?
Yeah.
But if say a hurricane, is bearing down on the coast and you get put on standby by six firms, and then one of them says, "Hey, you want to go to Mobile or you want to go to Tampa or whatever for this hurricane?" And instead of saying, "Yep, just tell me where to go," you
Mhm.
start negotiating like the pay and this kind of thing. I think that's a major mistake because you don't have number one a leg to stand on. Number two,
Sure.
you don't have any experience. You've never done this before, so you don't know if you're even
Of
going to be able to
course.
do it or like it, right? So you're sitting there trying to
Hmm.
like demand higher pay for something that you might run away screaming from, which plenty of people do. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and the objective of your first storm, first, I would say two or three, maybe four. So your first season,
Hmm.
your objective is to get experience, is
Yeah.
to start learning the ropes. It doesn't matter, and I tell people take any claim that you can. If
Hmm.
nothing's going on, but you call in and you just got you. I tell people when you get licenses and you get certifications, call your firm. You can update the apps and Renovo and all that kind of stuff, the
Yeah.
adjuster profile apps, but call and talk to
Hmm.
somebody, and say, hey, I just would call in. I just picked up my New Mexico license, and I want to see if anything was going on. If there's a need, you guys had someplace another license I could pick up that would help you guys out. Oh no. Oh,
Yeah.
New Mexico, huh? Oh, hey, listen. I know you're in Lubbock, but I got one over there in Albuquerque, and I can't get anybody to do it. And I know that that's like a very long drive, and
Hmm.
they may not be that extreme, but the point is that if that kind of thing pops up, take it. I don't care if you lose money on it. If you don't
Yeah.
have to pay money to do that claim, it's experience and it's relationship building, and I think that those are the things that new adjusters
Sure.
can miss out on because they're like wanting to. It's like the kid with the Apple stand and the sign in the front that says apples $1 million a piece, right? And then the businessman walks by and says, $1 million a piece. Well, the kid's like, all I gotta do is sell one, kind of a thing. So
Hmm.
it's thinking that it's good. It's like a lottery ticket instead of
Hmm.
a marathon.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Take what you can get the experience under your belt,
Yeah.
and the rest will fall into place. But be in it for the right reason too. The adjusters that are in it for the just the money, I don't see them taking a claim like that. But
No.
those that are in it for the right reasons, they're going to take that claim. They're going to do that work. So, speaking of new adjusters, do you think the industry is oversaturated with new adjusters, or is that just something the veterans are saying?
I would say it's a little bit there's a little bit of nuance to that. I
Hmm.
think that there's an there's a desperate need for people that are good at this or who have the potential to be really good at this work.
Hmm.
There's a vast sea of people that are sort of like the Reddit, thread people or the Facebook, group
Yeah.
followers who might
Yeah.
go get a license or whatever, and then nothing happens, and they're kind of like they're not really all in on it.
No.
Um, there's I firms, and I ask them every year at NACA or when I talk to them, throughout the rest of the year. They're like, that's one of the reasons why my course does so well is because it's a pipeline of adjusters to our
Hmm.
partner firms. Um, they're like, hey, listen, if you hear of anybody that's good, just send them my way because they need good people. They don't need
Yeah.
just people. Number one.
Hmm.
Um, Number two, it depends on where you are, right? If you're in Dallas, Texas, yeah, probably oversaturated. And it's
Yeah,
always been that way, right?
it
But if
has.
you're in Fargo or Billings or, you know,
Hmm.
Erie, Pennsylvania, right? Places like that, you can get claims. You really can. Like,
That's good to know. Yeah, that's good to know. Well, some of the draw for the new adjusters is the advertisements by certain entities. So they get this idea, I can make so much money on my first year. So what's your honest take on the quote unquote 300K your first year marketing we see online? What do you think about that? Is it drawing in the wrong crowd?
well, I'll tell you this. I don't think that being in this for the money is a bad thing
Mm-hmm.
necessarily because it's what
Mm-hmm.
draws people in. It's an incentive, right?
Incentive,
And you
yeah.
and the beautiful thing about it is that because of the way it's structured, you're incentivized to be better at it, right? $300,000 your first year. I think the stars really have to align. It's absolutely not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a year like 2020 or like 2017, right, with
Mm-hmm.
Harvey and Irma, and adjusters were
Yeah.
making that in 3 months.
Yeah.
On Irma in particular, Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
When you have those big events like that, yeah. If you are a person who does live in New Jersey or in a place where there just aren't that many IAs, um, they can keep you LA, like between LA and San Diego. How many millions of people, like 10 or 12, 15 million people live in that area? That's millions of toilets and dishwashers that
Yeah.
break and flood people's, or slab leaks and that kind of thing. Um,
That's
Absolutely, you can
true.
do it, but I think it takes really, really good mentorship. I think it takes the stars aligning because it's not, even if you do all the things, it may
Mm-hmm.
not, pan out just for whatever reason. Um, I think that realistically, you know, if you're just doing catastrophe work, I think it's tougher than if you get a season of catastrophe work under your belt, and then you go, maybe you we call them deployed dailies, where like, if I have a California license and I live in Montana, my firm, I'll just say I can go to LA and just stay there, or I can go to Seattle and stay there for as long as you need me, and I've done that several times, and they're like, oh, they're my email is filling up with exact analysis notifications before I leave the house. Um, you can figure out a way to, once you get some catastrophe experience, to get onto the daily side of things. And I
Mm-hmm.
think daily adjusters, um,
Sure.
I think that's you can make more money in a given moment as a
Mm-hmm.
catastrophe adjuster, but I think over the long run, especially depending on again where you're at, um, you can
Of
do really well
course.
as a daily adjuster.
Yeah, don't sideline the dailies. Take on the daily claims, stay consistent year round. It's just gonna make you a better adjuster overall.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy at least.
And I think
But
that was,
mhm,
to kind of circle back to your earlier question about misconceptions. A lot of adjusters think that they have to be assigned like a lot of big claims,
mhm,
right, in order to make money at this. But you're going to get assigned whatever they have, and it might
yeah.
be a phone closure, it might be small claims or whatever. It's more about the volume of claims that you do
Mhm,
over the course of the year, instead of like individual little lottery tickets, like getting the $1.5 million house with its slate and it's all destroyed,
yeah.
versus getting 100 little like 1,500 square foot ranches that
Mhm,
all have their roofs totaled, right?
yeah.
I'd rather
Yeah.
do that than be chasing around those gigantic houses.
Yeah. Of course. Well, let's talk a little bit about the desk adjusting. Do you think desk adjusting will eventually overshadow field adjusting?
Um, I think that the IA firms that I talk to have pretty consistently told me that it's either the number of desk assignments that they have versus field is either growing,
Mm,
or it's at least 50%. Like the major firms that I talk to, like,
wow.
Sedgwick's and those guys, there's a lot of desk work. That's, and back to your oversaturation question, that I think the remote side of things in particular is oversaturated with people because it's, hey, I'm gonna stay
Mhm.
home, sit in my bubble
Sure.
bath, and write claims, right? Yeah, who doesn't want to do that, right, and get paid?
Hmm.
Um, the firms have told me that they're desperate for field adjusters. They need field adjusters. Pilot told me that they were like, keep sending us. We want people that can go into the field, right?
Interesting.
So,
Okay. Okay. So you're not,
but as far
so
as
yeah.
uh, as far as the future goes, who knows, right? They thought
Hmm.
that back in 2015, 2016, they thought that photo and scope only like splitting it up, right? There's a
Hmm.
desk part and then there's a photo and scope. They thought that that was going to kill field adjusting, but it didn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't. It was much ado about not a lot. But
Yeah.
that's part of the basket of sort of the roles that adjusters can take.
Sure. Well, let's shift back to you and your adjuster TV. What is the most rewarding message you've ever received from a viewer? I know you had to have several rewarding messages, but what's one that kind of stuck with you and made you go, okay, I got to keep doing this. This is really, really good.
I think that because I do my best to tell the truth with
Hmm.
this stuff and to not sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
And, one of our sort of like policies at Adjuster TV is that we want to be a pass through of information. And it's not just, I have my opinions about stuff, but if there's questions out there in the industry, in the viewership or the audience or the potential people who might be adjusters, if they got questions, I'm going to go interview somebody from an IA firm that has the answers to those, right?
Hmm.
The biggest IA firms I can, because those are the ones that are going to employ the most people. And so a lot of the feedback that I get from folks when we get emails and notes and things like that is that they appreciate that and that it makes, you know, a lot of some of the other content that I do that's the instructional stuff or like the workflow stuff, that a lot of people like the video that does it's my oldest video and it's got less than 1,000 views on it. The people that do watch that video benefit from it, and I get the emails and notes about from that people that watch that video saying this has
Hmm.
helped me more than anything, right?
Oh, wow.
What I
Yeah.
watched that one video you did about doing one a day on your first hurricane for the first 2 or 3 days, and then taking a paper day and then just ramping
Hmm.
up. That saved me on my first storm, and now me and my wife are living in full time in a motorhome. And we have a yacht, and we have a this and blah
Oh,
blah blah.
that's
And
awesome.
we put our kids through college or whatever, right? And those
Yeah.
kinds of things are.
It's
It's nice to
huge.
hear that kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
it's
what it
helping, which was the point.
helping. Yeah, and I'm assuming that's what you hope people feel when they watch Adjuster TV is they feel that they can do this, they feel motivated, they feel, I mean, what do you hope that they feel?
Well, I want them to feel empowered by having
Hmm.
information. I want to be able to help people to self-select in or out. Because like we
Okay.
said, it's not,
Hmm.
and we're talking about, I kind of got them at the beginning, right? This is the audience that we have, and this is the content that I do, which makes the content part easier because it's kind of the same sorts of things over and over again. It's what is this all about? Is it right for me? What are the realistic expectations I should have about what the first year looks like and the fifth year and so on and so forth. How do I get there? What's the shortest path that has the fewest landmines or pitfalls,
Hmm.
the fewest dead ends? I don't want to spend a gazillion dollars doing this, but I know I have to spend some money to get going, to get training. Do I need training? Right. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what keeps you motivated in this industry that's constantly shifting?
Well, I try to keep my finger on the pulse, and I do
Mhm.
have, I absolutely, I mean, just like everybody else, I've got my eye on it. I mean, it's the technology is there. I know that the
Mhm.
carriers, and they've been trying to do this for decades, as long as I was an adjuster, starting in the late 90s, they've been trying to find ways to reduce or eliminate the need for independent adjusters in particular, but kind of all adjusters, right? Because it's
Mhm.
an expense. When they hire staff adjusters, they got to, they might pay that person $55,000 a year that, that goes into their account, but then they also pay for their health insurance, they pay for a company car, they pay for a laptop, they pay for all this stuff. So it's expensive to send people out in the field. Wear and tear on the vehicles, right? And it's expensive. So the less that they can, I was a staff adjuster for a year at Liberty Mutual or at Safeco, which is the same thing basically. And they're like, Matt, man, if you can do it over the phone, do it over the phone.
Yeah.
We'd rather have you, they're like, I don't care how big the loss is. If you can get that thing closed over the phone, do it. And I was like, really? And there's like, yeah, it's cheaper for us. And they were honest about it. So they've been trying
Yeah.
to get rid of adjusters for a long time, and I think that they're pouring a lot of money into um, this large language model, machine learning stuff, the AI
Mhm.
stuff,
Sure.
because it has the potential to automate a lot of things that people do now, right?
Mhm.
I think the first thing that we'll see go is going to be customer service phone bank people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you can talk to ChatGPT and have a conversation with the voice thing on your phone, why can't you do that with calling State Farm or American Express or whoever, right?
Mhm.
It has all the answers. It
Sure.
doesn't have to send you to a manager or whatever. It knows everything and it can immediately route you where exactly you need to go. I think that's a benefit that's going to benefit everybody except for the people that work in
Yeah, of
India or
course.
wherever.
Of course.
But with adjusting, uh, it will and it is having an impact. The technology is going to be allow the one adjuster to do the work of three or four or five
Mhm.
adjusters, right? So it's not so much that it's going to be adjusting is going to go away. It's that fewer people are going to be using tools that make them more efficient.
Okay.
Is kind of my feeling on it. That said, you still have to have a person to go into the house, right?
Yes, you do. And with AI comes bad actors that can use AI to create falsified, videos,
Yeah, yeah,
photos,
yeah,
and you can't escape someone coming to your home or building and going, okay, this is damaged. I'm writing an estimate. This is what I'm confirming. And there's going to be bad actors that go, there's always bad actors. And I talked about this today on LinkedIn in a post, but you need the good to come in and do the work of adjusting. And I don't see how that would ever go away. It may go away for an extent, may go away for a bit, but I think you're going to lose more money in the long run with the fraud that you're going to see by
yeah.
the solely desk adjusting and by the AI technology that we have. There's going to be bad actors. So who knows what will happen? I'm really excited to see how the industry is going to shift. But let's talk about what's next for Adjuster TV. What's next for you, and what has your audience? What haven't they seen yet?
Well, we are. So I'm an Xactimate certified trainer,
Hmm.
and I have level one, two, and three self-paced online training for the user certification, the levels, right? And I think that what we're probably going to do into going into next year kind of be the big thing. With Adjuster TV, it's been a lot of like we're pretty conservative and as far as like not changing things up all the time and trying
Hmm.
different things. If we find something that works, because it's a business
Yeah,
that's helping and that also is not taking me 16 hours a day to do, but there's a sweet spot in there where we're able to keep the business going and help people. Then we just keep doing that and we tweak
yeah.
little tweaks with knobs and dials. Um, but we're probably, well, not probably, we are going
Mhm.
to start a new YouTube channel.
Oh,
Uh, I tried to get it called. Exactimate TV, but Verisk shot that down. So
Yeah, I can see why.
it'll be called Estimate TV, and
Oh,
all it's going to be is every week, and they're 2 minutes to 10 minute long videos.
mm,
How do you change the ceiling height in a room in Sketch? And that's all we do, right? So it's going to be like
mm,
quick, basic things. So that eventually we'll have, there'll be, if you try to look up how to do something in Xactimate
mm.
on the internet, my little things should come up. And they're going to be,
Oh,
there's no
wow.
ads, there's no sponsors, there's no nothing. It's just straight up. In this video, we're going to make a gable roof and we're going to change the pitch on it, right? Let's jump in and we do it.
Oh,
Um,
wow. That's great.
so,
That's
yeah,
exciting.
and that'll be to promote more of the Xactimate stuff that we have. Because one of the things that new adjusters need, I think that they may not put enough emphasis on, they got to
Mhm.
learn that software. They have to
They
learn
have
that
to.
software if
Hmm.
they want to be a property adjuster. And it's not intuitive. It's not like an iPhone where it's made to be like easy to use. It just isn't. It's very powerful, um, and it
Hmm.
does a lot of stuff. And they've made some improvements, but it's still, you can't learn. You're not learning that one on the job. You need to show
Yeah.
up having practiced at the minimum, and I would say, you don't have to get the certifications, but taking the training for the certifications teaches you everything that you need to know about the software. And
Hmm.
then we round the rest of that out on Adjuster TV Plus with all the exercises, and fast track to deployment. Here's how you do the whole claims process, and Xactimate is one of the tools that you're using in there. And so you
Sure.
kind of need to know how to use it to pass that course.
Oh, well, that's
So yeah,
awesome.
so kind of, yeah, that's
Well,
kind of the main thing that we're
congratulations.
going to do.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
congratulations on the
so
new venture. Well,
yeah.
I want to ask you too, if someone is on the fence about becoming an adjuster, what do you tell them right now? I mean, you have all these resources for them. Do you say, "Hey, jump right in. Here's my adjuster TV. Here's my estimate TV. You're ready to go." I mean, what do you tell them? Do you encourage them or do you give them a warning?
We're going to have real talk.
We're gonna
So
real
it's going to be, you know, the first question I always ask is, how old are you? Right?
Mm,
Because the question I often get is, should I go be a staff adjuster or should I be an independent? And so the first question has to be, how old are you? Not because you can't do things at a young age or an old age or whatever, but
hmm.
I think things make more sense, right?
Sure.
If you're 23 years old or 29 or whatever, you're just getting started more or less. It's a tougher choice because you can go a long ways working at a carrier and they'll take care of you and they like to promote from within, and the people that are at the top of a lot of those companies started at the bottom, right?
Mm, hmm.
And you can, having knowing carrier people and just through my career, the the basic kind of the idea is that you kind of end up in the same place, right?
Hmm.
You can do it in spikes, and probably you're generating a lot more revenue or income earlier as an IA, but over the long run, with some of those companies still have pensions and 401ks with matching and all that kind of stuff, right?
Hmm.
So what are your goals? Do you have a family with little kids? Where do you live? Are you willing to relocate? Because again, if you live in Dallas, you're waiting for a storm in Minneapolis, right? But if you live in Minneapolis, it's a different story. You could probably get into
Yeah, you're
start doing daily
curating
stuff.
you're curating
Yeah,
the answer to that specific
yeah,
need.
yep. Just
Yeah.
depends on what you're willing to do. I think in order for it to be successful, at least as a catastrophe property adjuster, you got to be all in on it, right? And you have to
Hmm.
be willing to pick up and go right now.
Sure.
Period. So
Sure. No,
if
that
you're
makes
willing to
sense.
do that, then
Hmm.
then we'll take the next
Then
step to
we'll
talk
go to the
about,
next step.
yeah, we'll talk about what you need to do that, how much money you're
Mhm.
gonna have to spend, and all the licenses and all that stuff.
Well, I wanted to shout out a couple people in our chat. Brandon, thank you so much for watching. He watches a lot of your videos, so
What's up,
that's
Brandon?
wonderful. Robbie Warren, Matt's the man. Hey, Robbie, thanks for watching.
Thanks, Robbie.
Hey, Dan, thank you for tuning in. We have Aiden Rogers. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in today. We have Michael. It looks like he might know you. How's it going, Matt? And then Alejandro. Thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, so this has been such a great chat. So I have one final question for you.
Shoot.
When people look back years from now, what do you want your legacy in this industry to be?
My legacy would
Yeah,
be that
well, yeah.
that I helped. I'll tell you what this is, and this is been my objective from the start,
Mhm,
is that if I can move the needle of quality of independent adjusting a little bit, then
mhm,
I'm successful. If I can make, and this is Matt, you know this, if I can make it to where when the a carrier has a storm and they call Pilot or they call Crawford or whoever it is, right? And you
mhm,
need to pick an IA firm, and those people show up. It's not, oh, the IAs are here. It's, yes, the
mhm.
IAs are
Yeah.
here, right? IA is not a four-letter word. I wanted to, I've wanted to, because this is such a been such a rewarding career for me and
Mhm.
so much fun. I really, really enjoyed being an adjuster. Um,
Same.
that the people that I saw wash out on big hurricanes, um, that didn't have to. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That this is a great career, and the career needs good. The industry needs good people, and
Yeah.
if the learning curve is like this, and the rope that gets thrown down to them only goes to there, and they're all the way down here, and there's a bunch of wolves all over the place, they're never going to get in. It's kind of a self-defeating thing in our
Mhm.
particular industry because the firms, you know, I love them, but I think that there's some short-sighted kind of
Yeah.
thinking in a lot of them, where that's just like, what are we going to do for the next quarter to stay alive? You know what I mean?
Sure. Sure.
And so they're not thinking long-term adjuster development. They just don't have the resources. A lot of those companies, or we have boom years, and they do have a lot of resources for that. And then we get a
Mhm.
2025, or maybe we get three 2025s in a row, and all that stuff. The first thing that gets cut is adjuster development and training. And so
Sure.
that's kind of what I wanted to be like, kind of the backstop for that, for the industry, so that
I
we
love
can
that.
keep people coming in and have
Yeah.
quality people, or people that can learn. Because I wasn't a quality person when I was 29 years old, or when I started this,
Mhm.
but it whipped me into shape. If I wanted to be successful at it, I had to be
Yeah.
better. You know what I mean? So
Sure. Sure. Well, Matt, thank you so much for being here today. This conversation was powerful, real, and exactly what this industry needs more of. So you built something extraordinary with Adjuster TV, something that has guided thousands of adjusters, inspired new careers, and brought clarity to a field that can feel overwhelming for so many. So your impact reaches far beyond videos. It's reshaped the way adjusters learn, grow, and step into this profession with confidence. So I appreciate you being here today. And to everyone
you bet.
watching, thank you for joining us for another episode of Adjuster Hour. This was a big one, and I hope you walk away motivated, informed, and excited about what's possible in your own adjusting journey. Make sure to follow Matt Allen and stay connected with Adjuster TV for more incredible content and guidance. I'm Natalie Ariave, and I'll see you on the next Adjuster Hour. Matt, stay on. Don't log off.
Okay.